she will be saying that, I am here at the moment. She's gonna say, gay rights are human rights.
This is Simon. That's me. I really loved him. Sometimes I hated him. He changed my life.
Shame, you know, Philip died.
Really? When?
I think 2 years ago or something.
Lost a lot of people.
Ooh, and, you know, one day I'm not gonna go to the march because of all these people that have gone and...
This is the last time Simon and I were together.
We met him.
Yeah, he was one of the big organizers. He died of AIDS complications a week later.
It was interesting how he pulled out all these mags and books and, you know, put on the video, said, hey, remember all this? Even for me, it felt like, oh, wow, you know, because these are some of the things I tried to forget.
I also remember she's actually coming next year here.
Yeah? For
just some of the things he
conference.
remembered that I did, or some of the things he didn't remember. You know, he didn't remember whether it was me that went with him to a particular place, you know, and I thought, okay.
Yeah, because the top people, oh, the late.
Oh my God. See?
On the one hand, you kind of think, okay, is it his illness? On the other hand, I'm thinking, but how could he have forgotten that? It didn't mean as much to him as it did for me, I suppose. You know.
My name is Bev. I grew up in Orlando West, Soweto. People look out for each other here, and there's a deep respect for religion, tradition, and culture. So it's not easy to be different. I was raised by my grandma and my grandpa because my mom was usually away on tour. I discovered my love for music from my mom. She was one of the best singers of her time, and I always dreamt of being a singer, just like her.
That's me. That's me on TV.
Hey, Gail, come see this.
That's me.
Gail, come see this. It's on TV.
My first song was called Captured by Love. I was 12 years old. Oh no, I don't believe I'm going to do this. Oh no, I don't believe I'm going to do this. This is embarrassing. Just take note, I am embarrassed to be doing this. Right. Captured by love, I'm captured by...
I was a happy child growing up, but I always felt like something was wrong with me. I hated it when my grandma forced me into little dresses. My mom used to say that God started making me before lunch, and when he came back, he had forgotten whether he was making a boy or a girl.
Somebody help to find the key. It's lost and I don't know where it is. I'm trapped and I can't run away. Somebody, something help.
When I was 10, my mom had a role in a TV drama. One day she took me along for an audition, and I was very proud when they cast me as her son rather than her daughter. Although I was very young, I remember the youth riots that began on June 16, 1976. I remember the fear, the tear gas, and the screaming. I didn't know Simon then. He was a student leader at his school in Sebokeng when he was arrested for the first time.
They came to pick me. I was tiny. My school uniform finished in the prison cell. I wanted education so badly, but I wouldn't really go with the system of the education then. And I think that's why our slogan was freedom now and education later. You know, we really wanted to be free.
Fighting with the national government. I don't know which government I've never fought. If the old one and the new one, I'm still fighting.
While he was fighting those battles, I was just beginning with mine. Girls at school were falling in love with boys, and I wasn't interested. My confusion started when I realized that I was the only one I knew who liked girls more than boys. I didn't know words like gay or lesbian. I just thought that I was very odd. That's when I started to feel the loneliness. In 1985, Simon was picked up with his best friend Gcina Malindi at an activist funeral in Sebokeng Township. The state was detaining every leader throughout the country.
In the van, I was alone between 10 policemen. And I was just quiet, you know, like I just see Sebokeng from a distance, and I was, you know, goodbye to my home. You know, everybody was confused. Some people were injured. You know, they were beating people, you know, like they were not human beings. And, you know, I thought I was just going to be interrogated and be left. How stupid I was to think that.
Simon and Gcina were amongst 22 activists that were charged with treason. They all spent the next 3 years in jail without any idea of their fate.
There was so much emotion. These people were on trial for their lives. The state wanted to have them executed.
Their trial was known as the Delmas Treason Trial and became one of the most high-profile cases in the history of South Africa. And while on trial for his life, Simon announced to his fellow trialists that he was a gay man. Against all their wishes, he went public with this information.
One of the co-accused had said that we can't be seen to be on trial with people who are embarrassing us and our organizations and so on. And why did they put such people together with us?
Simon was totally without fear and totally transparent, you know, and prepared to be himself at all costs.
It was during this time that Simon wrote many letters to Roy.
Roy, darling, it's not wise to be on your own for such a long time, especially when you feel down. Dear Roy, I am trying this silly method to get this letter to you before they could censor it. Father, nice to speak to him. He told me how worried you are about me, but I am much more worried about you than I am about myself. I was an activist because of Simon, because Simon answered my amazing needs, and the fact that he was fighting apartheid, which I had been brought up in my spirituality to know was against the will of God. My sort of integrity, the center of me, came together in Simon. And the fellowship that I knew around that trial was something I'd never experienced in my life.
As word of the trial spread, support poured in from many parts of the world. Simon started to become a gay hero.
Okay, give me a plate, and Bev.
One evening I was doing the dishes in the kitchen and Boy George was on the radio. My sister said, "Hey, if he's gay, that must mean you are gay." I was so excited that I didn't think before I burst into the lounge and said, "Hey, I'm gay." Bad mistake. And then after I told you, I said, "Mom, I'm gay."
Yeah, it was a shock. And then we wanted to know the explanation of gay, because what we knew is there's something called, two ways. And
or hermaphrodite.
Hermaphrodite.
There's no such a thing.
o goletse mo nna ke mo godisitse ke nna ne ke mo tlhapisa so ha se ntho eo ne ke sa tsebe hore motho la ile mosadi o ba ntho eo ne ke nana hore motho o jwalo ke motho a na le dinto two things so be ke gana ke right there's no such.
From that day, I was made to feel dirty and guilty all the time. But I couldn't just lie and pretend to be like everyone else. Nothing made sense. Later that year, I attempted suicide. The Delmas treason trial finally ended in 1988, and 5 of the accused, including Gcina, were sentenced to life imprisonment on Robben Island. Simon and the other 16 were acquitted. A year later, the whole thing was declared a mistrial, and everyone was set free. But while Simon was in prison, he found out that he had another life sentence: HIV. Keep all these things, babe. I don't understand why you want to throw them out. They got nice memories.
Well, some of these memories is painful, you know? Especially when you know people are not around.
Angry. Little girl has dreams. She wants to learn to fly. She wants to be an engineer. Mama never told her that she was a woman. I mean, being a woman and knowing from an early age that I had no choice about where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. You know, I mean, I was always being told what a beautiful wife I'm going to make for so-and-so. I wasn't brought up ever to be just me, Bev. Whatever it is I want to do with my life, do, you know? That you are a lady. And just learning the rules of what I can do and what I can't do because I'm a girl. While they laugh when she tells them, and slowly her hopes die, and slowly she dies, like all her sisters around the world who gave up on everything for a man. Don't cry, little boy.
Even though Simon was acquitted, he was still forbidden to meet with more than 3 people at a time. He went ahead anyway and called together a group of gays and lesbians to form GLOW, the gay and lesbian organization of Witwatersrand. A friend of mine told me about that meeting. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't hesitate. That was the day I met Simon. For the first time, I was happy. I was home.
I was born gay, and I'm proud of it, and I want all of you to be proud to be what you are. That's all I can say.
Funny how a little change can cause such debate about the way I dress or present myself as I find my own space. Funny how I'm being watched every step of the way as I walk and
From that day, my life transformed. I just blossomed. There were meetings, rallies, and parties all the time.
You don't pay my way around and you don't feed my soul.
I found what I'd been looking for, a place to belong. I now had friends and a political space to express myself, where I didn't have to explain anything to anyone. Simon and I clicked immediately. He was so easygoing and inspirational.
Simon was an extraordinary package of a lot of different things. He could be coy and coquettish. He could be a rampant queen. He could be petulant and spiteful and mean. He could also be immensely generous. And above all, he had vision and courage.
Tiptoe, hello, kisses.
Our Bev, he was short. Loving and caring, always laughing, always making jokes. Wherever he was, you'll never see somebody crying.
Finds me not as a native.
So he loved attention.
Yes. He did, yeah. Who doesn't? But he thrived on it, I guess.
My way around and you don't feed my soul. You don't.
This business of going on the dance floor for 3 hours flat, you know. He just had such incredible energy about everything that he did.
It's just the easy way in which he just took me into his life. You know, like a little sister. He just pulled me in, right in, and didn't mind me calling at any time, didn't mind me coming over, sleeping over, you know?
Pour me a drink, I want to appear to be drinking.
I will pour you a drink, my dear.
Saying, that's nice. Mix it with that one of yours.
Mix it with
the peaches one. This is the peaches, yeah, orange one. I don't know, maybe I should give Graham this, but I can't give him the whole
make
thing.
a copy.
Yeah.
Because it was a nice speech. Yes, sir.
It was.
It was a nice speech.
I won an award for that speech.
You've not been invited to New York.
I
Just
was
now.
invited to Glasgow. I didn't go because I was sick.
Yeah?
But wait until I get better, my dear. I'm going back to the world. The sick and tired of sitting in here.
Absolutely, sir.
Nelson Mandela was finally released from prison and all political parties were unbanned. Because of Simon's contact with him and other Delmas leaders, we were confident that the ANC would support us. It was in this climate of expectation that Glow made its first public statement, and Simon initiated the first Gay and Lesbian Pride March. We didn't know whether people would come or not. We were really terrified there would only be a few of us and that we would be attacked while marching in the street.
Homosexuality is a sin against God. Homosexuality is a curse on the nation. Homosexuality leads to eternity in hell.
I mean, I'm a man. Then I don't expect another man to sleep with me. I can't make love to another man.
When do we want them? Now. What do we want? Gay rights. When do we want them? Now. What do we want? Gay rights.
They have no right really to do this, you know, because we as Christians we believe it is a big sin.
Thank you very much. We'd like to appeal to the press not to harass the people here because some of them do not want to be recognized. We live in a homophobic society. This is why we're marching. We want to change this.
This meeting and this march today have a message. We have a message to all the lawmakers of South Africa, a message to all the constitution makers of South Africa. That message is the criminal law is for criminals. Gays and lesbians are not criminals.
Today, the world is going to know that we here in South Africa have been oppressed for too long. We can't stand it anymore. Why do we have to fight for the right to love who we want to love? This is about time, and today we're making history.
This is what I say to my comrades in the struggle who ask me why I waste time fighting for Morphis. And this is what I say to white gay men or women who ask me why I spend so much time talking about apartheid when I should be fighting for gay rights. I am black and I'm gay. I cannot separate the two parts of me into secondary or primary struggle. They will be all one struggle.
When I heard that speech, I was so in awe of Simon. I knew then that I wanted to work alongside him to get gays and lesbians legally recognized in a new South Africa.
Everybody has equal rights and everybody is protected by the law.
You know what? This is bullshit. Bullshit.
The significance is that we are proud of who we are, and we want to show the world that we're proud, that's all.
It's kind of disgusting.
No.
Into the streets! Onto the joggers! Into the streets!
Of course, yes.
We are feeling so great, and we think people are going to appreciate us as we are because God made us as we are.
I'm very happy, you know, I feel like crying, I feel like just tearing my clothes off. I don't know, I'm just like so happy.
We've succeeded, and it was our first march, and it was very, very successful.
Someone, look at me! I was so radical. Oh my God, look at Diane.
Look at Diane.
Oh, and Kim. Phibia's right there.
My brother.
Oh my Lord.
We all older than that now, because it's 10 years.
Yeah, it's 10 years. Oh man, where are all these people? Nikki, this was the most beautiful day.
Died or something.
This was the most beautiful
Or became
day.
straight.
Others are still around.
Shame. You remember they stole that banner?
They stole
Oh, my late lover.
That first Pride was one of the best days of my life, but I was on TV that night. It was a religious show, and a priest was saying these people should be killed. All of a sudden, I was getting funny looks from people in the street. I thought, oh, what have I done?
TV.
2 days later, I was sitting in my room when I heard voices outside calling my name. I ran into the lounge and my granny opened the door and told me to hide. About 20 angry men were surrounding our house, demanding that I come with them so they could teach me a lesson. The worst thing was that they threatened to take my grandma if I didn't go with them.
One of you utla walin. Ke khaba ema mo gating ba o mong a re wa kena o mong a re hey ashambe. Ile hore ba batla go bontsha gore o mosadi how gay ba tshojwa.
How did it feel, Mom? Go take you as jwalo
Ne
mo
ke
hae.
kwatile very bad.
I was angry, but mostly at myself. I shouldn't have made that speech. Now I put my whole family in danger. I was so terrified that I couldn't leave the house for weeks.
In terms of sexual violence and violence against women and the way women are treated, here it's you as soon as you anywhere you got a dangerous element right there. You're always looking out for yourself because anything could happen anytime, you know, rape, being beat up, just being treated like shit, being excluded, you know, things. But coming out as a lesbian is even harder because then you are putting yourself in the firing line. any angry man will use his machismo to try and prove to you that you're straight, although he's proving absolutely nothing, because all he's doing is actually raping you and making you hate men, when actually, you know, that's not what it's about at all. It's about loving women.
It came a point where you couldn't walk alone to the taxis, where I used to take you halfway all the time, where you had to be escorted. And I didn't care what they were saying. To me, it was like, talk, but nobody's going to touch it.
There wasn't much Glo could do to help me then. In fact, Simon said it would be better if I just moved out of Soweto. The best thing that could have happened did. Instead of being rejected, I had gained my family's full support. Simon and I became co-chairs of Glo. We became a team. Our country was drafting a new constitution, and as Glo, we wanted to make sure that gays and lesbians were included. We did everything we could. We ran workshops, organized more pride marches, wrote articles, and made many public appearances.
Welcome, please, the co-chair of Glo, the gay and lesbian organization of the Witwatersrand, the beautiful Beverly Palesa Ditsi. Why go out on the streets, demonstrate, hold placards and things like this? What would you say to it?
I would say to those people, the reason why it is said that it is un-African to be gay is because no one in those days actually spoke about it. And if we keep quiet about it, 30 years, 40, 50 years from now, there's the next generation that's going to keep saying the exact same thing, that we don't exist. And it's because they didn't speak out.
He was my mentor and my teacher, so of course I wanted to prove that I'm learning. I'm learning, so I would ace everything that he would say. Bev, if you could do X, Y, I will do X, Y, and Z. You know, I wanted to please him.
The newly formed National Coalition for Gay and Lesbian Equality, together with Glo, was making good progress with a constitutional campaign. Even government officials, who until now had refused to negotiate, agreed to a dialogue.
When the police forum started in 1994, they called us. Bev and I went to meet Sydney Mafungahani and to tell them what we want the policemen to treat us like.
I started to join Simon on his overseas trips. I was meeting new people, visiting other organizations, and I was very inspired by how other lesbians were living their lives.
He was incredible. I mean, he made me challenge myself. You know, he made me wonder how far I could go as well, how much I could take.
I took the visibility campaign one step further and auditioned for an experimental reality TV show called The Live Wire Communites. Something like Big Brother, but without the million at the end. 8 very different people were thrown together in this luxurious commune and filmed for 6 months.
Bev is in the house.
I've got a problem with you. Sexual preferences are pretty important to me. And you didn't let me know.
I didn't let anyone know.
But everybody knew. I don't like those type of people. Okay. If I'm gonna be acting weird to you, okay, you must understand. I mean, look at you, you're a black gay activist. I mean, it's like, we're talking about way different, okay? Way different. And I used to beat up gays, you know, because as far as I'm concerned, they don't belong on earth, you know? They're wrong, they're naturally screwed up, okay?
That's heavy.
Yeah. But that's the way I see life. Okay. So I hope for you to try and make me see different.
How am I going to make you see different?
At this stage, you know, I mean, we got along in the beginning, you know. Now I don't even want to be near you, okay? So...
I want to say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here, and I'm going to stick it out for the 6 months. You know? So if we're going to be avoiding each other in corridors just because of who I love deeply,
then, you know, I mean, it's not going to work out, Leroux.
Okay.
Because it's not like I hate men. Dude, I don't hate men. Please, get that straight. I don't hate men.
I don't feel that radical, okay? But I personally feel that being homosexual is like a bit mentally retarded. It's just it's the way that I look at life.
You don't have to like a person, but at least like don't avoid them and don't make them feel like an outcast.
He never said he was going to. He never said I was going to avoid him.
I can understand.
Okay, yeah,
Man, how many times have we black people been walking into places and been looked at strangely?
This isn't
Do you know?
black.
Look, no, it's exactly the same thing, man. It is the exact same thing. You walk into a place and you get looked at strangely. People look down on you just because of the color of your skin. It's been happening generations and generations all over the world, right? And now I'm gonna say something and he's gonna look at me strangely and act strangely and I must accept that? The fact that you're a human being who has other passions in your life, who has other people in your life that you love and care about, who has the same dreams and goals, you know, to be happy and to be loved. And that whole discrimination even still confuses me. But I was fighting so much to try and prove that I am not different to you. And that's not all it's about. I don't lesbian for a living.
I mean, she's good with it.
In the end, Leroux and I became friends. He even gave me his guitar. The closer we came to the signing of the Constitution, the greater the opposition to our cause.
We're here today because we believe it is a blatant sin, that it not only defiles a person, but defiles a nation. And because of that cause, God will withdraw his blessings from a country.
Our African neighbor was the most vocal in his opposition.
If we accept homosexuality as a right, as is being argued by the Association of Sodomists and sexual perverts, what moral fiber shall our society ever have to deny organized drug addicts or even those given to bestiality?
Bev Ditsi joined the human rights protest that greeted Robert Mugabe when he arrived in South Africa.
And we are gay, and we are not criminals, and we do not deserve to be called all those names.
Let them be gay in the United States, in Europe, and elsewhere. They shall be sad people here.
Yes.
But I mean, today we are here to show the world that we are here and we African and we gay. And
Simon and I had worked together for 6 years now. We had fought hard to get where we were. Yet there were times where I felt that he didn't acknowledge me.
And I mean, no matter how many other people kind of say, he was so proud of you, he loved you so much, I never did hear that. So it's always a question in my mind, how he actually really felt about me, because I adored him.
Here's my speech. This is what I said. I came here representing the Gay and Lesbian Organization based in Johannesburg. I remember they were giving us only 2 minutes to speak. Yeah.
How many people were you speaking to? Do you remember? Because it was more than 1 million that was
they will mention, and hey, is it? This is a non-racial organization. But here, I think I did exaggerate it.
3,000 members, guys. That's me. Oh, my voiceover.
Yeah, this is my speech.
They speak of a constitutional, democratic political order in which, regardless of color, gender, religion, political opinion, or sexual orientation, the law will provide for the equal protection of all our citizens.
It was absolutely exhilarating. It was the first constitution in the history of the world that actually mentioned sexual orientation.
We were accepted by our government. Actually, our government, the people that kind of ruled and make the rules, said, you are okay. Nobody should touch you. No one can touch you.
We had won the constitutional battle, but the fight wasn't over. An even bigger enemy was facing the country: AIDS.
Okay, and now I'm seeing a lot of hands, so I don't know.
When Simon set up the Township AIDS project, I joined him as an AIDS educator with the vision of focusing on lesbians and AIDS. It was during this time that I saw that lesbians and gays were dealing with very different issues.
Tell us how. I felt that the gay men, especially within GLOW, were not really caring very much about what became big lesbian issues, like lesbian rape, which increased at one point, you know, where lesbians would be targeted for rape.
Before, Mr. Che, me proposed.
I was living that life of being afraid to be in the streets.
She was raped, you understand?
To go anywhere. So I wanted to be heard.
A lot of lesbians were there. So being in your toilet, when I came back to toilet, this man came and grabbed me. Say, I'm sorry. Okay, no, I want to talk to you. Say, no, you can't talk to me. I'm with my partner. Then what you give me? No, don't tell me that. No, I'm a partner. I'm not actually la paya nebo. Anglandel, angimbon. Mhlambe bese ngikhwele 2 steps. Khona. Ngive phuki ibhodlela, makuthi phuki ibhodlela vela ngigwaza ngithi ngiyathena angikwazi ngalimala la nala. He stabbed you. Yep.
And I was close to him, and as a lesbian, I was the closest to him at that time. So I expected to be heard. I expected for him to respect where I was coming from.
I was invited to the 4th World Conference on Women to be held in Beijing. Some GLOW members didn't support me going, but I knew that the conference would address some of the issues facing us. So I went to talk to Simon about this.
He was asking, you know, what relevance is this? You know, and for somebody who talks non-sexist, non-racist, none, for him to ask me that was very disappointing. And then, of course, I said, well, I'm going anyway because, you know, it's a women's conference, and I mean, lesbians are women. I'll go. No good luck, no goodbye, no nothing.
It ain't working. It ain't working. You and me, baby, it ain't working. I'm sad to say.
Bev Ditzier became the first out lesbian to address a United Nations conference where she argued for the recognition of sexual orientation.
I urge you to make this a conference for all women, regardless of their sexual orientation, and to recognize in the platform for action that lesbian rights are women's rights, and that women's rights are universal, inalienable, and indivisible human rights. I urge you to remove the brackets from sexual orientation. Thank you.
That speech was my highest achievement and my saddest moment. While I was on that podium, I knew that I was going to leave GLOW.
Our privilege this morning to say, welcome, Bev.
I came back and I was a hero, but inside I felt the opposite.
Beverly, you made history at the United Nations conference. Very briefly, just tell us about it.
At the government forum, we found out that we might have a chance to have a say.
Sweetheart, it ain't worth it. And I'm sad to say. And you've hurt me too much. And it ain't working. No, no, it ain't worth it.
I left the movement and began to focus on other areas of my life.
Tiptoe, hello, kisses, hugs, this is your boy. Hi, how you doing? Where are you from? Rockville, Pimville, Brooklyn, or Brazil? 12 months, honey, qualify me not as a native. Yeah. Oh, baby, indaba zakho. Oh, baby, indaba zakho. Neither here nor there, somewhere in the middle, maybe not. Uptown, downtown, non-stop, massive talk, tiptoe, hello, kisses, hug, this is your boy.
Simon was never far from my mind.
We had lunch with Simon, his mom, Graham Reed, and some visitors.
Simon used to call me a lipstick lesbian, even before I started wearing lipstick.
You don't pay my rent, you don't pay my...
A visiting researcher interviewed me about my past and also spoke to my friend Palis.
I'm very happy that I met a person like Beverly, because if it wasn't her, I wouldn't be standing here and have said what I said. Instead, I would be dead. But she saved my life. In my mind, she was a picture of victory. And she fought for all lesbians and gays, and I'm gonna take from where she did give up, and I'm gonna be a flower that doesn't fade for my lesbian sisters and my gay brothers.
Yeah. And I realized, that some of these people have been a part of my most formative years of my life, Thought, I can't just be angry and cut everybody out like that.
Out of the blue, Simon called to invite me to Glow's 10th anniversary picnic. I was so happy. I couldn't miss that.
Hi, babe.
Very nice seeing you today, and I hope I'll see you more often.
Oh, re bile le di-event tse ngata jang di halala.
Ke re tse
Ba sa ntshitsa one feeling. Le sa tlampha metšhini e mengata eo. 1 2 1 2.
Which is, to me, just
I think we're very lucky in South Africa to be talking today after 10 years of our struggle. I mean, it's 10 years. I'm talking about when Glow was formed, because there was nothing was happening before then. It's actually a very significant tree for me. It symbolizes for those people living with HIV. We have about 25 Glow members passed away in the past 10 years. Okay, and it is really sad that so many people have lost their life.
Simon filled me in on what he'd been doing since we last saw each other.
Look, she's wearing a Paris t-shirt. I am not. But she's the chief.
He told me that he'd started a new AIDS organization, the Positive African Men's Project.
I just closed my project where I was doing HIV and AIDS education for people living with HIV and for people who are not living with HIV. The government refuses to give me funding. 5 of my applications were turned down, and I was very upset.
Brother's not doing too well.
It bounces back. It's
Yeah,
got all the
bounces
license.
back.
It needs to have all the...
Now I'm not afraid to say I'm going to die of HIV and AIDS. In the world, people die of anything. You can die of cancer, you can just walk in the street. So when there is life, use it.
Oh, come on!
First attempt! Damn! First attempt!
Brian got it. Brian got that goal. You see how many chances we have. Brian got that goal. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God. No more worry. Look at him. He was about to cry. He was gonna cry. Oh no. Someone was gonna cry. Okay, now I got to see who scored it. He was gonna cry. I just needed one goal. I know you're not gonna go to the final, but I just needed one. One, just one.
You just kept saying that, man. You get another. Look at that. Look how
When Father J.P. Heath came to me at St. Mary's Chapel and said Simon is dying, then I realized that this guy was just intrinsically part of me.
I even thought there would be a remote chance that he would open his eyes and say, "Hello, Bev," just so that I could say, "I love you, Simon. Thank you, you know, for having been there for me. Sorry, we broke up. I was angry with you. I love you." And I mean, eventually, I was alone with him. Peter walked out, Roddy walked out, and I held his hand and I said these things, but I kept wishing he would open his eyes. But he was gone by then. He was completely unconscious.
And on this World AIDS Day, we report the death of gay rights and AIDS activist Tseko Simon Kodi, who died of AIDS complications yesterday afternoon. 41-year-old Nkodi, a former Delmas treason trialist, was the founder of the gay organization GLOW. He received numerous international awards for his work as an AIDS counselor and educator.
Lesbians and gays to have had such a fearless, selfless visionary for a leader.
Because Simon gave power to the people, and he gave power especially to lesbians and gays. Thank you, Simon.
Grateful to the Almighty for having known Simon and for having had a mentor like Simon Kodi. I am me because of him. We are all we because of him. I know his soul will rest in peace. He did his work and he did it beautifully.
The spirit of Simon Kodi, long live! The spirit of Simon Kodi, long live!
Pride 1999. Yeah, baby.
The 10th Pride Parade was a massive tribute to Simon.
This is a victory for us. Don't forget that one.
All right, baby.
Everyone was there. including the usual protesters.
Jesus Christ, my friend, you have no forgiveness of sin.
Denying the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death.
They should come to our churches and know how we feel and who we are, what we're doing, what we don't do as gay Christians.
That the Bible says it is an abomination to God Almighty.
The cool thing was that I fell in love again.
I led the first one, I'm documenting the 10th one. That's wicked, right? That's wicked.
It was incredible to see over 20,000 people stop to celebrate the new street name. I missed him terribly. I wasn't the only one.
What is it